I used to work with the band Spirit back in '92.
Yeah.
So Randy California was in Hendrix's Jimmy James and the Blue Flames.
Okay.
So did you ever see them play together?
I don't recall. You know, it's so long. I did see Spirit's first gig. Laura Nyro took me. Because I used to go everywhere with her. I was like, she was like my surrogate big sister.
Who was that?
Laura Nyro.
Oh my God.
No, my mother's sister married her mother's brother. So we used to call each other cousin. And we have a mutual first cousin, Hallie.
I mean, how can you not love and adore Laura Nyro? You were friends with
She
her.
lived in the same building I did in the Bronx when we were kids.
Man.
And I got her crib, yeah. Then her brother got the crib after me, Jan.
Whoa.
Yeah. So I knew Laura all my, from when I could process thought, and walk. And so, I watched her write the first songs that she wrote.
Which was?
Well, it was, the Stony End and
I was born from the...
Yeah. And He's a Runner and all those things. I'd go past high school was across the street from where she lived, where I was going. So I'd go after school, and she'd go, "What do you think of this one? What do you think of this one?" And I played blues harp on her first demo, which we rehearsed for 2 weeks before we went into the studio. We got to the studio. I was appalled that the piano was out of tune with the 440 tuning harp. It just wasn't the piano wasn't tuned 440 in the studio. So she said, "Just bend the notes, keep bending the notes."
That's funny. She played piano.
Oh yeah,
on the demo.
Was an amazing piano player. Her brother was also an amazing piano player. They had good lessons.
What was his name?
Jan.
Jan Nyro?
Yeah, but no, Jan Nyro. Laura's real name is Nyro.
Okay.
I was actually in the living room when she got the call from John Phillips to do the Monterey, festival in 1967. I was coming out of school, and I just went over to get tuna fish sandwiches and some soft drinks over at Laura's place, and she was always playing me her new songs, and the phone rings, and she gets off, and she looks ashen, and her lips are blue, and she goes, "That was John Phillips. I've never played a gig, and he wants me to do the Monterey Jazz Festival." She'd had her first album out, but the Monterey, jazz, I guess the rock festival it was, wasn't it?
Right.
And, we loved the Mamas and Papas, so, she was like all panicked because she'd never done a gig. But she did fine. She got a band together and did fine.
Now, I do a segment of the show. I'm going to ask you if you can talk about Laura Nyro and yourself. We'll do a double section.
Sure.
It's called The Demo That Got the Deal.
Right, yeah.
So I've been doing this forever.
We'd like to find that demo, actually. I mean, she was with Verve Folkways, same as Tim Harden back then. And then she met Geffen, and Geffen switched her over to Columbia Records. But it would have been for Verve Folkways, and whoever was in charge of Verve Folkways. I was like a 14-year-old kid, 15-year-old kid, and I'm looking at these businessmen, and Laura's dragging me around with her to these like parties at industry parties, music. And she wasn't more than 18, So we were like kids going into these industry parties with Michael J. Pollard there and Johnny Winter, people like that. It was. And she took me to see the Who, and the Cream's first gig in New York at the Murray the K Show.
Fascinating.
She got free tickets. And it was like, Laura was like an amazing sort of conduit showing me that, this is all, she was there, she was on her way. And now she's in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. She was very proud of that because she never thought she was going to be accepted as a singer. She knew people loved her songwriting, but, she didn't have hit records as a singer. In fact, her only hit was a song she didn't write, which was, I think she did it with, what was the name? They did Lady Marmalade.
Patti LaBelle.
Yeah, Patti LaBelle and the Bluebells were her backing singers on the Gonna Take a Miracle album. And Gonna Take a Miracle charted as a single with Laura and Patti LaBelle and the Bluebells. And she never had another hit as a singer, which is odd because she's the most amazing songwriter.
And that is such a great song, too, Gonna Take a Miracle.
So when I Love Rock and Roll went #1 by Joan Jett, I said, I've entered your slipstream, Laura. I got a #1 and I sang it first, just like you. You know, and she was like, oh my God, must have rubbed off.
She said that?
Yeah.
Well, she must have been very proud of you.
She was, yeah, of course.
You know,
Yeah.
so did Verve Folkways say, hey, we need a demo?
Yeah, that was, it was the beginning. It was her first, song demo. We did 3 songs. 2 I was on, and 1 she did alone. She did Freewheeler, or Freewheelin', I think it was called. He's a runner, and Stand Straight, Die Right, which she never put out.
Dance Straight?
Stand Straight, Die Right, or Fly Right. I can't remember because she was conflicted about the titles. And she was like, I don't know whether to call this Stand Straight, Die Right, or Stand Straight, Fly Right. I think I told her to call it Fly Right because Die Right was morbid.
Right.
I told her that And When I Die was morbid too. And that was her first hit single with Peter, Paul, and Mary. So she said, what do you know, Alan?
Now, I'd never heard Peter, Paul, and Mary do it. I've heard Blood, Sweat, and
Yeah.
Tears.
They had a hit single with it before David Clayton Thomas and I forget the name of the band. I'm getting old.
Blood, Sweat, and Tears.
That's the one, yeah.
Yeah.
Al Cooper was with that band. So.
Al Cooper lives like the next town over, you know.
Oh, really?
Yeah, in fact, I have to go over to Al Cooper's town, like right now, probably go right by his house. He was on this show, but he moved to Somerville, Mass.
Okay, you're in Massachusetts.
Right, I'm 5-6 miles north of Boston.
Okay, I played up in